Welcome inside DETV for another NBA playoff update on this Saturday. Nick Alessandrini alongside Jason McCall. Joe Richmond also here with us back. It's been a busy last couple of weeks for Joe. We're able to get him here on the desk with us here today. Should be a great show. Before we get going, guys, how's your week been? Jason, how you been this week? We were together on Monday.
Great week. Can't complain. Really busy, but it is what it is. We're here to do a job, and we're going to do it today.
Absolutely. Joe, great to have you back. I know the Bluecoats, a trip to the G League Finals, everything's starting to calm down a little bit. What you been up to?
You know, just cleaning up, but we ain't cleaning up as good as Jason. Look at the wash, the hair. We ain't doing it, ain't that clean. But we know we getting some stuff done. And it's just been a fun week. You know what I mean? Just been a fun week.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into some of these NBA games. We'll start with the matchups from last night. We'll continue into today's games, and that includes our Philadelphia 76ers looking for the sweep here today against the Toronto Raptors up in Toronto. So we'll get to that in just a little bit. But, guys, let's start last night in a matchup that will affect the Sixers come round number 2, and that is the number 1 seed in the East, the Miami Heat, taking on the 8-seeded Atlanta Hawks. Heat coming into the series up 2-0 yesterday for a big game, game number 1 in the ATL. Trae Young back home with the Hawks. It looked a little rough early for Atlanta. Miami got out to a good start, led after 1. Atlanta jumped out to a good lead there in quarter number 2. Back and forth they went, and then it was Trae Young with 4.5 seconds left, the floater in the lane, a 111, 112, or 110 win for the Atlanta Hawks. Joe, we'll start with you here. Hawks take a game here now 2-1. What did you see out of Atlanta yesterday?
Yes, Hawks. Boy, I was cheering every second. Let's go. I had to look around the house. We're like a Hawks game around here. I ain't want the Sixers to come and like, yo, what are you doing rooting for the Hawks? But no, let's extend this shout out to Miami. With Highsmith from the Delaware Bluecoat. Always wishing well, but I want their series extended. Let my Sixers do what they're going to do. Let those guys get their rest. But I think it's going to be a great series. I still think John Collins hasn't hit his stride yet. Yeah. You still know Capella's not there. So there are some other dynamics, but you got to give Trae Young, when you talk about leadership, this guy got poker-type face, no highs, no lows. He understands his crowd. He understands the moment. I thought I would see more. I think the craziest dynamic for me is, Tyler Hero, who probably might be up for Six-Man Award.
Yeah, definitely one of the finals for sure.
But, when you talk that you in that Trae Young conversation, that Doncic, Luka, and you're not getting that stuff they're getting, then this is an opportunity for you to take that challenge on. I'm clearing everybody out. I'm sticking Trae. I'm going to show everybody that me and him are on the same level. And I thought I would look for that to be a step up. But I think it's going to be a great series. Like you said, a lot of back and forth in all the games they've played so far. A lot of back and forth. And, we can say what we want to say, but JB is JB. Jimmy Butler's still the dynamic. He's still going to be who he is. That 40-plus he gave him the other night was just amazing. And I'm liking what I'm seeing about you see Dedmon, these guys coming in, these unsung guys that are coming in and doing the little things. And, Herder still hasn't really done much yet. And, it's a couple guys for Atlanta that you still see can break through. You see Bogdanovich did his thing. But, there's some guys, that still you looking for that could turn the next game away to keep the series extended. Or he could just go crazy and end it.
Listen, they can end it.
And again, I think this was a big win, especially going back home for Atlanta. Again, teams that have gone down 3-0 don't have a lot of a high percentage of getting back into this one. So a big win for Atlanta. How big would this rest be for the Sixers, Jason? We talked about that aspect of it. Now it's 2-1. We have a series, if you will. The Sixers are able to take care of business today. How big would that rest be if Miami's able to go extend that series, as Joe mentioned, and maybe tire themselves out a little bit more?
Oh, the rest will be priceless. I mean, let's just put it out there. I don't care what you say. No team is fully healthy this time of year. They may not show up on the injury report, but they're nursing some nagging injuries that they've had throughout the season. So it would be extremely beneficial if the Sixers could end this game, in this series, and let Embiid's thumb get some rest. But back to the Hawks and the Heat. What can you say about Trae Young that has already been said? As Coach Joe mentioned earlier, he just has the moxie. He understands the moment. He understands the feel of the game and the time he needs to just step up and become Ice Trae. And
it's chilly, yeah.
Very chilly. And like you said earlier, the supporting cast with Herder and Hunter, and like you said, John Collins hasn't really hit his stride yet. They have a group of rangy 6'7", 6'9" players that can do everything on the floor. And once they put it all together, like they did last year.
I was going to say, we saw it last year up close and personal.
But I don't know if they can do it against this Heat team. There's too much experience on the Heat. And we haven't really mentioned Kyle Lowry's name yet.
And obviously a king.
And we know how many big shots he's hit in his career.
Yeah, and I mean, postseason, he's been lights out. You look at yesterday for Kyle Lowry, struggled 2 of 7 from the floor, just 6 points, 4 rebounds, and 5 assists last night. So he will pick it up, as we know. But again, you look back at those Hawks role players. Gallinari was big for them last season. They still got him, DeAndre Hunter, Kevin Huerter, John Collins, Bogdanovich, you name it. And even Okongwu, the rookie out of USC, he's been playing some big minutes without, obviously, Clint Capella. If they get Capella back, John Collins, as you mentioned, gets into a rhythm. Okongwu maybe starts to get a little bit more of a feel in the playoffs. They could be a scary team. But as you mentioned, it's going to be tough to take down the #1 seed. But I think that win last night, even though, again, 1 point, you'll take a win any way you can get it, is a big win for this series.
So it's all right.
But it all goes back to both coaches. They both put a culture in. They both got a plan in. The players all bought in at this time, and they are both disciplined in what they do. Again,
a big fourth quarter. Hawks outscored the Heat 34-29 in the fourth quarter, gives them the win in Game 3. Again, Heat still lead that series 2-1. Let's get into the second game of last night. This one not as entertaining as the first one. It was the Bucks and the Bulls. The Bulls were able to take Game 2 in Milwaukee. So Middleton injured in that game as well. He's going to be out, get an MRI, I believe, in the next few weeks. So they're going to test him out in a week or two, see how he's doing. So it was 1-1 coming into Chicago. Bulls took that game too. So a lot of momentum going to Chi-Town, and a lot of people giving the Bulls a great shot at that game last night. Again, Bucks small favorites at tip-off for that game, but it was all Milwaukee last night. Joe, what did you see out of the Bucks? There was a question coming in, no Middleton, how would they perform? Well, they answered that call.
I mean, and let's not try to downplay the fact that they did it in Milwaukee to get that win. You know what I mean? And DeRozan, the mid-range king right now, he showed up and he showed out. And I'm still waiting for Zach LaVine to find out who he really is. Is he just a dunker, or is he going to really turn into a player? And, you know, what is he going to do in these playoffs? He still is the one, to me, is the X factor to show me what he's going to do. I really like Milwaukee. And even though Middleton went down, I really think Portis is the one. I think if Porter didn't get hurt earlier, I think they still would have won Game 2. I think Chicago has no answer for Portis, as well as the Greek freak right there.
I don't know who has an answer for him, right?
I mean, and I love, one thing about Jason, if you ever listen to Jason, he is a guy, he loves that size, he loves the length. and Milwaukee has all of that, you know what I mean, between Portis, Lopez, the Greek, you know, they just got, you know, you throw Middleton, he's
Holiday, maybe the best defender
Drew is just
in the
a beast right now, and I think that's where that separates them, because Drew Holiday, I think he has a true command of the team. Whereas coming down in those crunch moments, the last 3 or 4 minutes of each quarter, Chicago's searching. They're doing it by committee. Where Milwaukee, we get it in Drew, he sets the tone, more like what we get it later with Chris Paul
I was
and
going
Phoenix.
to say that similar hold on the team that Drew has, like Chris Paul does. But I would say for the Bucks, this series, I mean, it's 2-1, but like you said, it should be 3-0. But I think the major difference actually is Lopez coming back and being healthy and being able to play. So I think with Lopez healthy and, like you said, Porter's doing his thing as usual come playoff time and just steadying his ship, and the Greek freak is a Greek freak. Greatest player in the world right now. I said it again. He's the greatest player in the world right now. I don't think anybody is better than him at this moment in the world. But the Bucks are the Bucks. I mean, Grayson Allen even had a decent game.
Stepped up for them last night. 22 points for Grayson Allen. 5 of 7 from downtown, so hit the 3 ball at a very high clip last night. And if they're able to get him to come off the bench, I believe in the first couple of games, didn't get as many minutes, but Coach Budenholzer able to insert him last night, and he did what they needed him to do. And obviously some bad blood with the Bulls and Grayson Allen after what happened earlier in the year.
That nasty foul on Caruso.
So Grayson, though, answering the call last night, 22 points.
And Nick, Grayson is an irritant like Beverly. It's just that Beverly's more with it. And Beverly doesn't really score like Grayson can and do the things that he does. But Grayson is an irritant.
He knows how to get college.
Right, he knows how to get other people's skin too.
For 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. You know, he hasn't done that, but he's making a name for himself, I believe.
Irritant since college, so I mean, it's what it is with them. But how about the younger Antetokounmpo brother getting in and having that nice dunk in the game the other night. I'm like, okay.
See, now don't have to just see him in that commercial, right? With
Right,
Giannis, where they take
right,
the picture
you
on
know,
the Google
yeah.
on the Google phone. He's getting out
got
there
the
getting
game.
some
And,
minutes.
I mean,
so
well,
that-
it's a blowout, so I mean, get some garbage time buckets.
Yeah, but coach always going to reward that kid because he always brings the energy and the
Energy,
effort.
works
yeah,
hard. He's
absolutely.
And when
biggest
you're
shooter
doing
on
that
the
type
team.
of stuff, you know,
Glue guy, you know,
but I'm saying, like you said, maybe it's garbage time, but still he brings the energy and the effort. He's not going through the motions.
He's not.
He's going in like, oh, I got my I'm like it's
I'm
first
getting
quarter.
my 10 minutes, you know?
Right, and that's what I love
Gotta
about
love
his
that.
brother.
And I believe, did we have an Antetokounmpo on the 87ers back in the day at some point?
Yeah, but he played right now. He's playing.
The other one, right?
Yeah, he's one man. They all over. How many brothers?
Yeah, I believe we had one here up close here in the first.
I thought that was one of them over there. Then I he done changed his hair. You know.
Well, the Bucks able to take care of business there in game number 3. Made it look easy without Chris Middleton. We'll see how they look on Sunday, game 2 in Chicago. Again, Bucks lead the series 2-1 now over the Bulls. So over to game 3 from last night, and a great one. We were talking about this one before we went on the air today. The Suns and the Pelicans. Suns in a little bit of a similar situation as the Bucks. No Middleton for Milwaukee. Maybe a little bit even more important to the Suns was Devin Booker, 28 points a game in the regular season, 28 points a game here in the postseason. That hamstring we saw back in game 2, he's going to be reevaluated in, I believe, 2 weeks. So they're going to be without their leading scorer. So a big test last night. First game on the road in New Orleans against C.J. McCollum and Brandon Ingram. And when you look at these rosters before we get into this game, now that you take Devin Booker out, and you look at maybe who are the 2 best scorers on the floor now out of these 2 teams. Jason, I'll start with you. Do you go, are Ingram and McCollum the 2 best scorers now that Booker's out of the game? The 2 best being on the Pelicans also.
They were 2 best scorers before Devin Booker got hurt.
Ooh.
I mean, Devin Booker, he's a great guy. Not taking it away from him, but I think just pound for pound, when you add CJ and BI together, I think they're the 2 best scorers on the court whenever these 2 teams are playing. It's just a matter of the role guys, and Phoenix has better role guys. But I think with this series now, with Devin Booker being hurt and possibly out for a few weeks, I think this series might go to length, only because of the simple fact that New Orleans is a young team. They don't know any better. So they're just going to go out there and play full out every game, and you can wear down an older team like Phoenix. Although they have some young stars, they're still an older team overall. So I feel like the other young guys, Jackson Hayes, other players for the Pelicans, can actually make the series go the distance. So, and they almost went up 2-1 last night. So
And again, Jackson Hayes ejected from that game last night, only 9 minutes for the big fella for New Orleans. Joe, same thing over to you. What did you see last night out of the Suns and Pelicans? No Devin Booker, as we mentioned. It was a back-and-forth game again. A lot of people, again, jumping on that New Orleans Pelicans bandwagon when the Suns lost Devin Booker. You see some of those famous media personalities on ESPN and other networks taking the Pelicans. They have. I mean, we've seen it. Yeah, Perk. Coming at you, Big Perk. But yeah, they
played for
New
him, so that makes
Orleans.
sense.
So, Joe, what did you see out of the Suns last night? Chris Paul stepping up again when they needed to without Devin Booker.
You know, my pastor, Warren C. McKnight, I love you. He called the point guard. My pastor loves him. And I love him too. I mean, as just a quintessential point guard, hands down. But if you really but I'm listening to what Jason just said about the scoring. But you look at Ingram and McCollum, look at their numbers. Devin Booker's in that game. He's scoring, he's going to be in at 28-30. So you're going to tell me because Booker and Paul doesn't do it at the way they do it, I mean, the numbers almost match. You know what I mean? And Devin Booker, as we all know, is probably one of the most underrated superstars in our league.
Agreed.
You know what I mean? So let's add that on. And then the key is DeAndre Ayton stepped up.
That's the key.
Huge.
You know, I mean, Barkley.
He's been a key for the last couple of years.
Barkley had him scared of Valanciunas. They didn't want no parts of him. But I guess Ayton heard that and said, "Oh, let me go." But this is the difference between who did we talk about earlier in one of the games earlier, Jason? We talked about leadership. With
Drew Holiday.
Right, we're talking about Drew Holiday, but this is the difference. No, we were talking about
Gobert and
Donovan Mitchell, which we'll talk
off
about
the
later.
air, yeah,
We'll talk about earlier. Is when asked about Ayton's numbers last game, Chris Paul said, "That's on me."
Yeah.
That's what a leadership does. I got to get my big guy the touches. I got to get my big guy better. That's on me.
Yep.
And I think that's what the league is missing in some of these earlier. But Jason had alluded to it earlier. There's still a lot of immaturity in some of these teams. That's why that doesn't show its rare.
It shows up in the playoffs in these games in big moments.
So I mean, but this is a great series. I'm proud of the Pelicans. I mean, without Zion's situation and things of that nature,
right,
with McCollum coming over, giving that
buying the culture.
Yep, and it's great. And you just gotta love
Willie Green Coach of the Year.
You gotta
Willie
just
Green,
enjoy.
Willie Green Coach
no,
of the Year.
Mikal Bridges. Come on.
Oh,
we talked about Lowry. Talk about Mikal Bridges. What college they went to? Villanova. They have a DNA of knowing how to win. They have a DNA about understanding culture. They have a DNA of understanding team. And this is why, these teams are always going to be solid when you have those type of players a part of your roster.
And then, Jason, we talked about the role players. Ayton, if you didn't hear the numbers, 28 and 17 last night for the Suns.
Ayton's not a role player to me. I'm sorry. He's one of those guys on that team. He is not a role player. He's probably one of the most disrespected players in the league as far as his skill set and his game.
And talk about the contract too coming out. I mean, he's going to want his money.
Well, he's playing for his money right now.
Yes, he is. And again, the Suns maybe a little bit hesitant, as we've seen in the past, to give him that contract. Don't know why. Again, he did it in the playoffs last postseason. We saw it, and here he is again putting up big numbers. Bridges was able to get back on track, as you mentioned, Joe. 17 points for him last night, 4 of 9 from the floor.
JaVale McGee.
And then JaVale McGee, 15 points. JaVale McGee adds 15 for them. But you talked about Valanciunas, not a game that we typically see out of him statistic-wise. 6 points, 11 rebounds. After the first couple games, he was lighting up the stat sheet with rebounds and points. You talked about Ingram and McCollum. They've combined for 64 last night. Was not enough for the Pelicans. But how about, just to throw it out there, a little Herb Jones the rookie playing pretty well for New Orleans out there, making some plays. But it's going to be tough for the Pelicans. Again, Game 4 obviously will be back in New Orleans again. And you guys give the Pelicans a chance to take Game 4?
I do, only because they're at home. I think that home cooking and just role players, some people play better when they're in front of their home fans at home. They can't really play on the road. So I think by New Orleans being a younger team, I think the younger guys will feed off of the home energy and make them play just a little bit better. Maybe a few extra dives for loose balls or something, and take that energy off the home crowd. And then when you feed off of Ingram and McCollum and even Valanciunas, who will not have just 6 points in the game again. He is too skilled of a player. Yeah. But the problem with his game in this series is every Phoenix big man can run the floor.
Yes.
Valanciunas is more of a traditional to the basket, old school post player, so he exerts more energy on defense than he would be in his usual offensive sets. So that's going to be a difference. The big men matchup is going to be the difference in this series. Forget all the scoring of the guards. That's going to be great. That's your sugar. But the substance is going to be those big men in the post.
And I think when you talk about role players or like the big fella, Shaq likes to call them the others, you can't dismiss Jay Crowder, what he brings. He brings a certain toughness. He knows where to be. He steadies that ship. You know what I mean? He steadies everything for them. And that's what they need, and especially with Booker not being there. So I'm looking. I'm with my boy over there, Jay. I think they can get the next game, but I think I believe it's going to go 7. Unless Booker comes back, it'll go 6.
Again, Suns don't want it to go 7, but without Devin Booker, you'll get a win any way you can. Obviously, for sure. 34 minutes for Jay Crowder last night in that win for Phoenix. Chris Paul's 19 of his 28 came in the fourth quarter when they really needed him. So he stepped up once again like he usually does. Suns up 2-1 in that series. Well, let's dive into today now, fellas. We got some great games on the slate, and it all starts at 2 o'clock with our Philadelphia 76ers trying to look to get those broomsticks out and complete the sweep with the Toronto Raptors.
I'm looking for one right now because that's what's happening.
That's what happened. We don't even have to get into it. Jason's calling it
That's
sweep
what's happening.
already.
Everybody
the Sixers.
stop. Did you hear what he said? When you hear Sixers, that's greatness. You stop when you hear greatness.
Keep acknowledging, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Let it settle in.
All right. Now,
Let it
I
marinate.
think we'll get to Jason's Celtics in a little bit as well. So there's some heat up here at the desk this morning.
All right.
76ers and Raptors. Obviously, we haven't all been together since Monday. We went on the pregame show there. Sixers got the win on Monday, 112-97. Embiid 31-11. Maxey 23-9-8. Tobias 20. Harden 14-6-6. Big win for the Sixers. Took care of business. They lead 2-0. Then we went to Wednesday. And what a game that was, going to overtime. It's always tough when you get the first game on the road. In the Sixers case here, you're heading up to Toronto, a different country. No Matisse Thybulle. Raptors, you knew were going to come out with some fire early. At home, they did that, Joe. Sixers were able to hang around enough the entire game, able to strike late in overtime. What did you see out of the Sixers on Wednesday?
I think you just seen a word that's you could talk about defense, rebound, you can talk about all that stuff, but the word that's missing out on my notes is trust. That's what I see. They trust in each other. They trust in what they had before James Harden got there. They know what's going on. They're letting James Harden feel his way out, and they're trusting everything that Doc and the staff has already put in there and saying, hey, James Harden is such an elite talent, he'll catch up when he's ready. And that's when you see those amazing things going on with James Harden, because he's like, it's not like he's thinking about it. It's second nature, because now he trusts that Tobias is going to be there. He trusts that Maxey. It's all, when you get in the playoffs, it's about trust. It's not really about the plays. It really is not. It's just that it's about that execution. So if that's there, and that's when a lot of people think, oh man, all over the place. Yo, if he wasn't James Harden, this would be worse.
I agree.
If he wasn't James Harden, we would be seeing that this series probably be like 2-1 or 1-2 because of who he is. He still can do what he does. He just ain't that elite level because he's just trying not to overshadow or overpower or impose his will on the whole, what they already had in place. And then he's trusting and saying, my big fella, that's my MVP. I'm comfortable with that.
He better be MVP.
I'm comfortable with that, and we'll take care of the rest. And you know, Doc is a player's coach. And Doc knows that, and that's the one thing I love about Doc, because that's how he played. He been around player coaches, Fratello, those guys like that. So I love what we're seeing with the Sixers. I'm excited. 2 o'clock. Let's get it done. Let's go home and rest and let Miami and the Heat and the Hawks fight it out and let that thing go 7.
I'm with you. And again, what has impressed me, Jason, about James Harden is he's taken a lot of heat maybe publicly for not being the explosive scorer that he has been in years past. He hit some big-time shots when they needed to in Game 3. When Toronto would go on a little run, he would hit a step-back three, able to get to the basket a little bit quicker. We saw at him in Game 3. I think he's been phenomenal for the Sixers. Jason, what have you seen out of James?
I'll say this about James Harden, as Coach Joe alluded to. He is just playing the role, playing his game the best way possible to fit the team. But forget his scoring. James Harden is one of those players who has elite guard skills.
Absolutely.
He's a big body.
He's a bigger body than I think people
He can rebound. Of course, he can let the league assist a few times. So I know he has an excellent passing vision. But when James Harden actually wants to play defense and extends his arms and his hands,
which we're seeing,
he can do that. So
yes, sir.
We're talking about a player who's, 6'5", but has maybe like a 6'9", 6'10" wingspan? And he's about, 230, 240?
Yeah.
Solid. So he's one of the stronger players in the league. But like, forget position, he's one of the strong. So you're not really going to do too much to him, speed him up and slow him down. He's always played at his own pace. But I think his court vision is what the Sixers needed the most, because that was their biggest loss from not having Simmons all season. But now you see with Harden coming here, those plays that Simmons would make as far as his court vision, Harden can make those and better, but also provide a scoring punch. But my key to this series is we're seeing the birth of a superstar, and a young man wears number 0, Tyrese Maxey. He is a superstar. He will be a superstar in this league. He's up and coming, and I think the sky's the limit for him and the Sixers. So whatever y'all need to do to pay him and keep him, let's start working on that now.
And again, I think he's been a perfect complement to what James Harden has been able to do. Put the ball in Harden's hands. Maxey, maybe not as great of a passer as James Harden, but he can get a certified bucket. He'll get you one when you need to. Obviously, you know Tyrese Maxey pretty well. We had a chance to hang out with him up on the mezzanine the other night.
I know y'all was in like, whoa, let's go.
Yeah, we had a couple celebrities
very humble
on Saturday. Yeah,
very
so
humble.
What have you seen from Maxey, not only this year so far in the postseason, putting together a pretty nice run here in the first series?
I mean, Jason hit it on the head. He's a all-star in the making. That's what I was talking about with James Harden. He understands that. He sees that. He sees
Take
it.
him under his wing.
So he's like, you know what? I'm not going to rush. I'm not going to push. All this can happen at the same time. Because honestly, if we're being real honest, Maxey needs to catch up to James. James already sees what he could be.
Right.
So James like, and on off another note, one of the most outstanding young men in our league. In Philadelphia, we love him. He's always in the community. I've seen him over in basketball leagues, out in the community. This young man gets it, and he's thankful for the blessing of playing basketball. And I'm so glad that he's on our team.
Yes, always has a smile on his face.
Always has a smile on
It's
his
just
face.
fantastic. You love to see it.
Like with our own homegrown Bones always smiling.
Always smiling. It's contagious. We love Tyrese Maxey here, and thank you, Daryl Morey, for not having to include him in any trade talks earlier this season, as we never have wanted that to begin with. But again, he's still here. Harden's here. Sixers up 3-0. Going to look to complete the sweep here today.
Just
Quickly here, we'll hang on this series for just one more second. Joel Embiid, the thumb becoming an issue made public yesterday. He's going to play through it. Sixers fear it could be some torn ligaments in that thumb. Was able to still hit that game winner in overtime on Wednesday. How big of an issue, Jason, is that thumb with Joel Embiid?
I'll say this. It will affect his outside shooting, but he's still 7'2", big guy. He'll probably stay more in the mid to low post,
Which could be beneficial.
and save his thumb so he can just get to the basket quicker and put up layups and maybe soft hooks and things like that. So he won't be shooting as much from the outside, which is what some people don't want him doing anyway. So it can benefit him regardless. And he'll just wrap that thumb up and call it a day.
Again, Joe, over to you now. Thumb, how big of an issue do you see it being? And
I mean, come on. I mean, what are you talking? I mean, but, it can work both ways, because it's his non-shooting hand, which is cool. I mean, and the one thing, too, if he go in the post, though, is an opportunity for more of that to happen, and who knows if they want to target it. But maybe that'll make him move faster, so when he's sort of double teams,
decoy, kick out, open shooters.
So, I mean, there's so many ways you can look at it, and, Embiid is smart enough, and everybody knows, and he's been around. It's nothing new that he ain't seen it. He's not, like Jason said once again earlier, nobody's healthy at this time of year, so everybody's playing with something. So he's going to go about being a professional, and we're just going to take this over and let Miami and Atlanta go 7.
well, again, that's the question. Does it make the rest a little bit more important, though, with that injury?
Almost with any injury.
They have to end the game. They have to end the series today.
Yes.
So everybody can rest, but more importantly, so Embiid can rest. But if you get a 3-0 on the team, why would you give them hope win another game? Get them out of there.
Yeah,
Get him out of there.
they all understand the magnitude of this game as far as the rest factor is
Get him out of here so Thabo can play games again.
Yeah, get him back in Philadelphia. Again, Embiid 28 and 13 in the playoff series against Toronto. James Harden also averaging 10 assists a game in this series as well. So Sixers are clicking right now. They're going to look to continue that success today. Get out the broomsticks, hopefully tip off at 2 o'clock. Now to the Mavericks and
game
the Jazz.
right here.
So this has been an interesting series, fellas. We'll dive into this one now. Coming in, Jazz able to take game one on the road in Dallas without Luka Doncic. Doncic has still not seen the hardwood in this series. The games 2 and 3,
Get this man a pillow.
they were all Dallas.
Wake me up when
It
this
was
over.
the
This
Dallas
thing is-
Mavericks.
Get this man a pillow.
Without Luka Doncic, they take games 2 and 3, taking one yesterday in Utah, earlier in the week in Utah. Back at it today for game 4 in Utah. Joe, it seems like the Jazz are a great regular season team, and then once again, here come the playoffs. They don't look too good here early against a Luka Doncic-less Dallas Mavericks.
Nick, the Jazz need you in their locker room. You make it sound so nice. You so elegant with it. You make it seem so, it's this and no wonder Ivan and Dennis just love when you walk in here, Nick. You make everything just seem so it's going to be, the Jazz, come on, man.
Jazz are tired.
Ain't you tired, Jason? Stop it. Come on, man.
This is a boring series. I'm sorry.
Are we not tired of this?
No, but honestly, this is a boring series to watch. I'd hate to say it, but it's a boring series to watch. I mean, without Luka, I'm like, why am I watching this series?
I'll just give you one reason. Jalen Brunson, my goodness. We'll dive right into it now that we have a moment.
You see what I did there? Let you into that.
That's a great transition,
Then when
Jason.
he came over, he's like, that's why I got out of where I was at and got over here where I could play
Now, I
some
will say this.
basketball.
They had joked about the series being boring, but I love Spencer Dinwiddie's game.
Oh.
Always have. He's always one of those guys where he just does what you need him to do. Does everything that he can on the court.
Come on,
And
Jason.
I thought he'd be. I mean, if he were still in Brooklyn now with that Nets team, they could really need a little bit of Dinwiddie here in that series against Boston.
They would have won last year had they still had him and probably Karis LeVert. But that's
a whole different story. Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
different story.
But this is all about Donovan Mitchell. And you know it, I know it. Everybody that's doing the games know it. This is about Donovan Mitchell. This is time for him to step up or step off. It really is. There's no more excuses. Stop worrying about Gobert. Stop worrying about all that other stuff. Just come out and play basketball. Show everybody why you're considered one of the elite players in our league. Show everybody that you're ready to go to the next level leadership-wise. Leadership-wise.
The game is there. Yeah.
Everything else is there. I think leadership, he's got to be the one to say, yo, we're in the playoffs. Forget all this little stuff going on. This is what we came to do. There's no way I'm going to get knocked out without no daggone Luka. There's no way.
I mean, coming into the series, that was the big thing, right, Jason? Without Luka, how are the Mavericks going to, stay afloat? Well, they're doing a pretty good job. I mean, Jalen Brunson, we talked about it. 41 and 34 in the last 2 games. I mean, just lighting it up. I mean, scoring-wise, we know he's a typical point guard. We saw it at Villanova. He can do anything. He was posting people up at his size in college. Great handle, great vision, can pass the ball.
What school was that?
Villanova.
Oh, okay. Like the other 2 guys. Okay,
I think he has 2 national titles.
Okay,
I'm just,
one of them is still questionable, but it's okay.
North Carolina was a tough one in 2016.
One of them is still questionable, but it's okay.
We have to air the footage.
And you know the thing is, because Jalen Brunson is not doing this, because Jalen Brunson is not doing all these other things, he's not making no gestures, he's just going to get it done. Almost like the other guard for the Heat, Kyle Lowry. They just go get it done. Bulldog mentality. Mikal Bridges, bulldog mentality. And this is why the Mavs are very successful. And they like each other.
They really like each other. And they're playing for another player's coach and their kid.
First year, too, with them. He's done a great job. And as you can see, they're stretching the floor. They have Maxi Kleber out there who's done a great job. He spaces the floor. They're putting him in the corner, letting Gobert try to stay with him, and then they're penetrating.
And they're making Bertans look like Dirk Nowitzki out there.
Yeah. I mean, a great game plan from Dallas. I mean, you see it. Maxi Kleber, you look at some of these stats, he's averaging 17 points a game here in the playoffs as the big man that can space the floor. He's knocking down threes. They're driving, penetrating, kicking out. Jalen Brunson, 32 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists for the series.
Let's stay there with Jalen Brunson. I can tell Jalen Brunson watched old school NBA basketball and the way he played, watching his dad, watching the players his dad played with. I'll give you a name that Brunson's game reminds me of.
Comparison. There we go.
I'll give you a comparison. Brunson plays like Mark Jackson. Just post you up.
Very deceptive.
And quickness, think he's not fast, and end up going by you.
Yes.
Or you play him close, okay, assist. He reminds me of the Indiana version of Mark Jackson. I think that game transfers very well, and he'll be getting paid for somebody's team next season.
Yeah, Mavs.
I was like, they're going to have to. I mean, he's right. He's going to get his money. Over 41% from 3 in the series as well. He's knocking down threes at a clip over 2 a game here so far. Dinwiddie just under 20 points per game. We mentioned Kleber at 17. They're getting the job done, the Mavericks, again with new head coach Jason Kidd. And Joe, you said they're done. Do the Jazz have a chance back in this series?
No. I think with the last game, I think they took their heart, their mojo from them in that last game. I think whatever energy they had, whatever hopes they had, it was dashed in that last game. And when you're playing against a team who does not have their superstar and you're barely losing or can barely beat them, that says a lot about who you are as a team. When you have your full arsenal of players,
come on,
and you have a great coach in Coach Snyder.
Yes.
That's And then going back to the Donovan Mitchell thing, leadership. Your stars can't butt heads. Your stars can't butt heads, especially not in the playoffs.
And again, they
Well,
try
everybody
to
sees it.
downplay it. They
Everybody
downplay
sees
this
it.
and that.
Everybody sees
Mitchell
it.
says there's nothing to worry about, but that's there's been some tense, going on there, tension
Because
between Gobert and Mitchell.
soon as this happens, that conversation starts surfacing again. Every time this happens, here come that conversation about, this one don't get along. And this is the funniest part, both of y'all. They got a superstar that is smart as all outdoors. And he's sitting back looking at what's going on with him sitting on the side. And he's like, oh, we going to have a field day. It's like, you know what I mean? It's like he's sitting back like, wait till I get back.
He was eating popcorn on the bench. He was actually eating popcorn.
Because he's like, wait till I, like, thank y'all. He jumping around like, I think he forgot he was injured. He's jumping around like, yo. They like, yo, calm your behind down. Like, man, I just love that. We use the word culture a lot, but they have the right one. And they pretty much always have, because Mark Cuban is just a happy-go-lucky, let's win, guys. Whatever y'all need, I'm going to give you.
Spares no expense.
This is going, and he going to do the same thing with Brunson, JB. Spare no expense.
Well, back up the Brinks truck. He's going to need it.
And again, Luka, in his 10 playoff games as he's played so far in his career, some of the, if not the best playoff numbers we've ever seen. Again, small sample size, but over 33.5 points, 10 rebounds, 9 assists, almost a triple-double, over 33-point triple-double in the playoffs. That's hard to duplicate, so they're doing it again without him. Mavs made 9 more threes than the Jazz in the last game. And another statistic for everybody at home, Donovan Mitchell passed the ball just one time to Rudy Gobert in that game.
Are we still counting those too?
I just like to give out the, give the listeners and the viewers a little nugget every now and then. So there you have it. Mavs, I guess, is a consensus, going to take the series. Last question before we move on. Do we see Luka in this series? And if you're the Mavs, do you try, or do you even play him?
You don't need him in this series.
So you don't even need him?
You don't need him in this series. You don't need him.
I believe you play the next game. If it shows itself, if they go up 3-1, they're going to bring Luka back in the fourth one and close it out and get it done. That's just my thought. And I know we're not a betting program here, but I'm willing to bet money. You will not hear Donovan Mitchell talking about, I got it, that's on me. I got to get my big man.
You know what? I'm with you. I'm all money in the team. I'm all in on that.
Jason, I'll put your watch on it, Jason. I bet you Donovan Mitchell will not be telling the world, that's on me. I need to give my big man more sessions.
Not a lot of Chris Paul and Donovan Mitchell.
Not at all. Not at all.
So far this season. Donovan Mitchell, again, he's still able to score the basketball shooting percentage down from the regular season, just at 41% from the floor, 25% from beyond the arc. So struggling in a few ways here in the playoffs. Mavs are up 2-1. If they go up 3-1, again, could be lights out for Utah. Say they go 2-2. What about Luka then? Do you bring Luka back 2-2?
You have to if it's tied. If it's 2-2, you have to.
So big game today then for Dallas. If they're able to get this one, they're looking really good heading forward.
Finally,
so
we get
here
to some
we
real
go,
basketball.
Jason.
Finally.
Yeah, we're going to start with you on this
Finally,
one.
the NBA knows this is the best
On
series.
to-
It's probably stretching the games out.
To maybe one of the best series of the postseason.
Making
Here
us wait
coming
10 days
in,
each game.
Coming in, this was the one that was circled. This was the one everybody had their eyes on. It's lived up to those expectations so far here in the NBA postseason. Game one, we talked about it on Monday. Joe, a buzzer beater for Jason Tatum, his first ever as the time expired, a huge win for the Celtics. They were able to take care of business yet again earlier this week. They get a 114-110 win on Wednesday, just like that. Celtics are up 2-0 as we head back to Brooklyn today. Jason, you're the big Celtics guy here on the program. What did you see out of Boston in games 1 and 2? I mean, we talked about game 1, but what have you seen now that they're up 2-0?
I've seen excellent defense out of Boston. They can rotate everyone on KD and Kyrie, and that's what's happening in this series. But I think when they went down, they're probably down like 15, 20 points in game 2 at the comeback. What happens is you can't get caught up in playing one-on-one hero ball. Boston has a system, an offensive system, and I think when they got down early in game 2, they were trying to match KD and Kyrie's efforts one-on-one. No, you play your system game, play your team ball, and that's how they came back. Of course, excellent defense. But this series, even on both sides, I mean, Bruce Brown is stopping people too. So
at 23,
it's defense on both sides that's making this series interesting. But I haven't seen KD look this bad in the playoff series in a while.
I mean, that's a great question.
I don't know what's going on. I haven't seen it.
4 of 17 in game number 2. You got such great two-way wing players in Boston. Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, even Al Horford stepping out and able to guard Durant out on the perimeter, it seems. Joe, he's struggling right now, but again, as Jason mentioned, you can kind of attribute that to the Celtics defense. Maybe one of the best defensive performances we've seen in a playoff series in a long time, at least through the first 2 games.
Man, listen, when you talk about Jason brought it up about the last which call reminded him of, but he used the word throwback. And that's what he should have saved the word for Boston, because they throw him back right now. they old school defense.
Old school defense.
Like, no, we're gonna put a body on, put a body on somebody. This is what they saying. No, he's not coming through the middle without getting bumped.
Yeah.
He's not coming through we're not passing him
And
off.
they're flashing two guys every time you catch the ball.
Yeah, it's like no, 100%. And I think the one word that I believe is probably used more in their locker room is we're gonna hold everybody accountable to your assignment. Like stay in your lane.
Stay in your lane.
And that's what they're doing. And I'm telling you, what surprises me is that doesn't play. I mean, Horford is just changing some things.
Yeah.
He must have went and maybe he got the new Gatorade or something. I don't know what's going on. But Horford has really.
We're not gonna do this about Horford. Y'all gonna leave him alone.
Oh, here we go with the
No,
Sixers
I know.
and the Celtics.
I mean, and there's just a.
No, he's drinking family youth.
Yeah, he's just. Yeah. I think he sees the real opportunity, and somewhere around February, Boston grew up. They had that little situation go on, and I think that propelled them to where they are now. And there's another word I want to add with them is trust. They're trusting that system you're talking about. Yeah,
they finally bought in.
They probably
during the season.
They probably a couple minutes, like you said, they did the one-on-one, and then somebody maybe smart and say, "Hey, let's get back to what we do best." And that's when everything went right back to normal. And I'm loving what I'm seeing.
Marcus Smart. You say that name again. Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean,
Marcus
you
Smart.
can't take nothing away from him, man. You talk about a guy. Yeah, but you talk about a guy that worked. And Marcus Smart worked. I mean, what was it? The left? How you do with the left? You had to look at it. You had to look at it. But but just like you said, I think they found out that with KD, you let him roam around, he's going to drop easy money sniper, going to drop 35, 40. You got to take your chances and use your fouls on him. Yeah. You got plenty of fouls. Big fella's going to be back for Boston. I don't see this thing. I see.
What do you see?
I see a
sweet. Well, that would be something.
With big fella coming back.
Again, next two games in Brooklyn, that'd be something.
Are you talking about big fella? You talking about Robert Williams or Ben Simmons?
Yeah.
Oh, God. We'll talk about that in a second, too.
Can somebody mute his microphone? Where's the technical people when you need them?
And again, when you talk about the Nets, you talk about, obviously, Durant and Kyrie. They're going to be your two main focuses for Brooklyn. The last 11 or 12 games, they've each played or are averaging over 40 minutes a game. So they have to be out there the entire game. Durant's played the entire second half the last 2 weeks in terms of these games as they were battling for playoff position coming into the playoffs. Yes. Are you guys seeing a little bit of wear and tear on Durant and Kyrie here as they've been carrying a bulk of the load?
No, because Kyrie hasn't played like that all year, so he's in shape now, so he can play the minutes. And KD's
struggled on Wednesday.
Defense.
Kyrie, 10 points in that game. After coming off a 40-point performance on Sunday.
Who was it? Somebody went 1 for 10 in the fourth quarter? Which one of them was it? Was it Kyrie or KD? I can't remember which one it was.
Could have been
both.
But I will say back to the Nets. They're still not out of this series. They're going home. Whenever you have KD and Kyrie on your team, you're never really out of anything. So I'm not going to be as bold to say sweep. But I think it's going to be over in 5, actually. I don't say a sweep. I see 5.
Okay.
I see Game 5 in Boston being the ending game of the series.
Yeah. I'm going to go 6. I don't know, something about Durant and Kyrie. They can't.
Durant
has to play
is a 2 seed for a reason.
And I think Durant will play better at home in Brooklyn.
Just the personal me when we get swept, too. Let them stay right there in Boston. Leave them right with it. They got a nice mall right across from the Barclays. They can walk right over to the mall and hang out.
Yes, they do. So, I've been there.
Again, big game 3 today in Brooklyn. Before I get your picks for today, or actually let's just start there. Winner today in game 3, Brooklyn and Boston.
I think we go at 3-0 today.
3-0. He takes Boston, Joe.
I got Boston.
Boston?
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Brooklyn. I'm going to get Brooklyn here in Game 3. They're going to win, make this thing a little bit interesting. Again, Robert Williams supposed to be back today, so that could be a big improvement there for Boston underneath. Again, second half of the regular season, they were one of the best teams in NBA history in terms of offensive and defensive efficiency. They're showing that here so far in the playoffs, up 2-0, looking to go up 3-0 today. So again, one of the best series so far in the postseason.
But we're going to the best series in the
It should be a good one
right now. This next game.
Yep, and here we go on to the Western Conference. After Game 1, had people maybe a little bit concerned for the Memphis Grizzlies, but they now have a 2-1 lead as the last 2 games have been all Memphis. I guess you can't say all Memphis. Minnesota blowing a 26-point lead the other day as the Grizzlies come back on the road. They take over Minnesota and get the win there. Just initial reactions to what we saw out of Memphis coming back there.
The coach didn't call a timeout.
21-0 run, not one timeout to stop that.
I've seen coaches call timeouts after a 5-0 run. Yeah. 21-0, and you don't call a timeout.
What's the coach's name over there?
Chris Finch, and he just signed an extension last week. He's going to be there the next couple of years.
Not doing that. Not doing that. You have a team who's favored. You had them down by 26 points, and you're at home, and you lose that game. That's inexcusable. There's no explanation for that.
So is that on coach or some of the players? I mean, you got two so-called superstars.
I've got who I think. I'm putting part of the blame on for me.
It's I would say coaching for not really breaking up that run, but also his own Big Cat.
I'm with Big Cat. Big Cat's where I'm looking.
Playing like a kitten right now.
I mean, I don't know how well. You look down at these stats. I almost thought I wrote them down wrong when I was watching the game. I'm like, what's going on? But then you look at it afterwards. Karl-Anthony Towns, more fouls than field goals in that game. He was 3 of 4 from the floor, only shot 4 times, had 5 personal fouls, 4 turnovers, just 8 points, 5 rebounds out of your all-star #1 overall pick center in Minnesota. It's supposed to be your MVP of your team. He didn't really show up.
And I don't understand it because I truly believe that if you watch the play-in games and the emotions that he showed and the
I thought he was taking a step forward.
I thought that was going to carry them over, and it just seems like something is missing. And once again, we go back to that word of immaturity, leadership. Those words start surfacing, and trust. Those words start surfacing going the other way now when you talk about this type of situation, because 1 minute it's Edwards' team, next minute it's Cat's team. That is a lot. It's like it was a tug of war. And really, it should be that guy's team, Russell. But, he's deferring in certain situations as well. I just don't understand it. I mean, you can't, with everything that Beverly, all the antics and all that kind of stuff. But where's the leadership?
I think that's the problem, like you said. They don't have a leader. Like Beverly's been in the league a long time, but is he really that stable leader in the locker room? Maybe on the court as far as the intangibles, but an actual steady voice of calming and sensibility, they don't have that. And then when you have, you said Big Cat, and you have Anthony Edwards, and you have D'Angelo Russell, who is the go-to guy on this team? I think that's their problem too.
I mean, for me, I'd have to go Anthony Edwards. I think he's the most pure scorer, can get it best look, creating his own shot. I think he's stepping up here in the playoffs. He's been shining the brightest when the lights have been the brightest. Again, the former #1 overall pick, and Anthony Edwards, 25 points per game in this series, 5 points, 3 assists to lead Minnesota. What about you, Joe? Who's your go-to guy for Minnesota?
Oh, come on, Kevin Garnett. Everybody knew that.
All time, I'm with you.
My favorite player of all time, hands down.
Oh, you talking about now?
Too, yeah.
No, but even before that.
I mean, he was.
Casey, but my favorite player of all time.
My bad. You talking about right now?
Right now.
Okay, well, how about that? Well, yeah, a little hypothetical. If the Timberwolves had Kevin Garnett in this series, who you take from then?
Because he was a leader from the time he walked on the court, and you're trying to find out. This thing is so up for grabs in Minnesota for someone to take the reins and say, this is my team. And right now, there's a tug of war, and I don't know why. And it might be on the coach. That's why he didn't call no timeouts, because he don't know what's going on either.
You want me to call timeouts? I mean, you got to call timeout.
And then you look over there and say, you want me to call a timeout? D'Angelo, we got it. You want me to call it? Edwards like, no, we got it. You want me to call it? Cat ain't even looking at him. So they just all in disarray. But, and the key word is immaturity. There's so much immaturity
they're young
there right now. They got all the talent.
And the reason why Jimmy left.
And they just it's just immature. And that's it.
And again, I don't know if either of you two saw the post-game press conference with Karl-Anthony Towns. I mean, I don't know. That's more damning than what we saw on the hardwood. They asked him, they said, well, if your leadership, they said, what do you got to do to get this team back in it? You're the leader out there. And he said, I'm going to go home, drink some wine, and we're gonna move on to the next one. So, I mean, interesting.
But look at the other difference when the Nets had the press conference and the young kid said something, and KD came right behind and said, hey, we don't
need that.
Right. See what I'm saying? Leadership. Leadership came right behind it.
Yeah, Bruce Brown said someone supposed to say,
right, and he came right, but that's what I'm saying. Leadership, veteran, like a Patrick Beverly should have been to say, "Nah, big fella, we
gotta get this. We should have had this game."
You know, that's where Jason's talking about where Patrick Beverly's supposed to be. You've been there. You've been around the Chris Paul. You've been around these type of coaches. You've been coached by Doc Rivers before you got the. You should know what to say. You should know how to step in, and that is not happening. And that's why I think that's where they're in such a disarray.
Lack of leadership. I agree. Anthony Edwards, to me, is the killer. He's going to be the one that's going to be that team. Again, Karl Anthony Towns saying wine. And next question at the post-game press conference. Not really. If you're a Timberwolves fan, you don't like to see that. At least I'll put it that way. But now let's get exactly as you mentioned, Jason. Let's jump to the Grizzlies. That's they've earned these last 2 victories. It's not all just been Minnesota's woes. Desmond Bane, 26 points in the game 3 win the other day. They obviously got the second one in game 2 at home, 124-96. That was a blowout. Morant been on triple-double watch the last few games, 23, 9, and 10 on Tuesday. And then on Thursday, right back at it with 16, 10, and 10 with a triple-double. So he's starting to find his rhythm a little bit more now into the playoffs. Grizzlies look a lot better than they did in game number 1.
It was just game 1. It was a one-game aberration. The Grizzlies have been one of the top teams in the league all year long for a reason. And as Coach Joe said earlier, when people like each other and trust each other, you tend to play a different brand of basketball. And the Grizzlies are probably one of my favorite teams to watch. They just have it. I don't know what it, they just have it. It's just something about them. You just have
and they get it.
And they get it. And then you have one of the most electrifying superstars in the game, in Ja Morant. Then you have Desmond Bane. But my glue guy, my X factor for this team is Jaren Jackson Jr., man. He can do everything. Pick and pop, defend, rebound, does everything for them. And they have a solid bench. And when you have a solid bench who everybody can contribute different ways, like a Conchard, other players,
Brandon Clark's been great.
Zaire Williams, Brandon Clark. I mean, they have a full team. And Taylor Jenkins, the coach, he's
done a great
excellent system put in place there. So they're still my dark horse team out the West.
And again, they are the 2 seed in the West. Again,
but dark horse only because everybody's picking either Golden State
especially after game 1.
or Phoenix. So I still like Memphis' chances out the West.
Again, Taylor Jenkins and company down 26 on the road at Minnesota with a series tied 1-1.
Ain't no way.
It didn't matter. They were able to answer the call. What have you seen out of Memphis so far here?
Man, I'm excited. I'm excited for Paris, France. They had a national day the other day when they adopted son Yad Marat. Won the game, you know what I mean? And then he has everybody in Memphis and the U.S. hollering for him. And Jason, once again, you hit it on the nose. They like each other. They love, when the boy is not scoring, they stepping in. Okay, Bane, you go do your thing. And they're okay with that. You know what I mean?
Dylan Brooks, everybody,
right, they're okay with
guy,
like you do your thing until I figure what I need to do here. And that's the difference between them and Minnesota, because they're all young, about the same age, makeup. It's just one says we like each other, the other one saying we don't know who's going to be this. And they've all accepted that Ja Morant is their star, is their next level, and he's going to be the one to take them to that promised land. And once again, they're all fighting that dark horse title. You know what I mean? Yeah. They know that everybody's looking here, and no one's really giving. So you know what? Let's go out here and show them that we're not just here to be happy to be in the playoffs.
Let me get back to Minnesota for a second. I noticed something while we were watching the highlights previously. They don't have a secondary ball handler off the bench, a steady point guard. I think that's their problem too. I think if you have someone who can actually steady the ship and actually just runs offense, not worrying about scoring first, you'll be able to put players in better position. And once D'Angelo comes off the floor, it's like, okay, who's your point guard?
And as Joe mentioned, even with D'Angelo on the floor, Anthony Edwards has been bringing the ball up a lot for Minnesota in this series. He's been kind of running the point guard almost. Russell's been playing a little bit more off the ball. So very interesting there as well. So yeah, it's going to should be a good series with Minnesota and Grizzly. We'll get to them. Did the Grizzlies make the conference finals?
Yes.
Whoa. The conference finals?
Do they get to the Western Conference Finals?
No, they're not. They're not going over. No, I'm not taking over the Warriors, man. No.
So there you have it. The Grizzlies don't get there. Jason's going with they are. So again,
that's because they're not in the East with Boston. That's why you can see what he said.
Has them back on track. They're up 2-1. Big game for today. If Minnesota's able to get one again at home, They showed a lot of A-Rod dancing yesterday early in that first half off the, drinking courtside. It was not great for him come the end of that game. I'm sure he was not dancing after the 26-point comeback for the Memphis Grizzlies.
But that's what he said Big Cat told him to do. We're going back to Minnesota to drink. So he
go get some wine.
Yeah,
maybe got that from A-Rod.
Something, and there's something wrong, with Karl Anthony Towns. Great player on the floor. He's got a lot of talent. But I just don't know if he's the guy you can build your team around, with that leadership and the intangibles.
I'll take a step further. There's been some dysfunction with leadership from the top in Minnesota over the past few years anyway. Remember, KG was supposed to become the owner of the team, and that fell through. And then the whole situation with Coach Saunders passing away, and then his son Ryan coaching the team, and then
that's right,
the ownership situation even after that. So there's been some turmoil internally on that team for a while. So
all around,
nothing has been able to steady the ship. And then even back to Jimmy Butler playing there and not wanting to stay because of Karl Anthony Towns' immaturity.
And now you're kind of seeing
all those unravel more and more. So I liken the Timberwolves to the Rockets, where the mismanagement in the front office, like, what are we doing? Talent's there, but what are we really doing? Who's going to come in and be that voice, say, hey, no, we got to get this on the right track and get it done now before our window completely closes?
I can kind of see Edwards and Towns maybe getting into it down the line. They seem like two different personalities to me. Anthony Edwards is more of a killer. I think it's going to be his team in a couple of years. Karl Anthony Towns is a little bit more passive.
It's his team now. Let's be honest.
I think because Cat won the three-point shooting contest and all that junk is in his head, that he does not want to hand it over to this kid.
And you got his dad on the side, on the court side.
And I think they're so caught up in that, and we understand the dynamic of his mom and things of that nature, and the emotional side of it. Yeah. And there's a time to celebrate. But I know this is a great sign for all the wineries in Minnesota, because it's going to be over with, and
they'll be drinking it all they want. Again, hey, that's what he said in the post game. So hey,
all he wants.
We'll ride with it.
Purple rain is
that's what your focus is. That's what your focus is.
Something's wrong, right? Something is not right there for Minnesota. Things started off great for them in Game 1. It's been all Grizzlies the next two. Game 4 today in Minnesota. That takes us to Denver and Golden State. You will not see them in action today. Game 4 will be tomorrow on Sunday in Denver. Game 3 was in Denver earlier in the week. Warriors were up 2-0 coming into that contest. Jokic, the potential MVP at home. They needed some type of spark. They needed something to try and get back in the series. They could not. Warriors take Game 3.
Poole party, added a third splash brother. Jordan Poole. What can you not say about his game the past 2 years? He got the time and exposure last year with both Clay and Steph being hurt in parts of the year, and then he's just continuing to have that evolution. We saw flashes of this and glimpses when he was at Michigan, but coming to the Warriors and being in that system.
G League guy as well.
G League guy as well. But just his game has just taken the next step each and every season, and especially right now. Like Draymond said the other day, we know they have Steph off the bench right now, but at some point, you're going to have to start Poole, Clay, and Steph in the same lineup. You're
with Draymond.
With Draymond.
You got to figure out that fifth.
You're going to have to do it because you can't keep him off the court. And he had 27, I believe. Clay had 26, and Steph had 27. So
yep, absolutely.
Three-headed monster. Draymond being Draymond. State leadership, offense, defense.
10 assists.
The voice. This series is over.
Yeah, I'll take it a step further. Does it wrap up today in Denver? Do they take both on the road and end this thing in 4?
Yes, because when you have that leadership, when you have people who've been there before, when you have a Iguodala, you have a Coach Kerr, you have everyone that's been on the team with a championship run, they're still there. So they know, hey, man, we try to get some rest. We know Steph is still not 100%, although he's playing. Clay's not 100%, still playing. Draymond's back isn't even 100%, and he's playing. So the more rest you can get in the playoffs, you can sneak a couple days here and there, they'll do it. So this is over.
And again, these three guys, Draymond, Clay, and Steph, they haven't played in the postseason since 2019 together. They played just 11 minutes on the floor at the same time this entire regular season, 11 minutes total. They're right back in full form. Look like 2019 Golden State. Just insert Jordan Poole, take out Kevin Durant almost. What have you seen out of the Warriors?
Throw all that out the window. That don't mean nothing. It's over. Only thing I'm hyped for the Warriors is Bones is with them, and that's homegrown, so we sentimental. We want to see him do well, but the rest of them, Jokic is going to be Jokic. I mean, come on, no Murray. Who else is out?
No MPJ, you know.
Michael Porter Jr. I mean, come on, they've always done it, and it's always been this type of situation with Denver in this time of year. The only thing that's going to slow down the Warriors is the high altitude. That's about it. I mean, it's like, you know, you talk about Jordan Poole. There was a progression to everything to him being who he is, and they got some other players on that team that we haven't not mentioned, Peyton and
Kuminga,
right? And
the defensive aspect
and
as well.
everybody knows where to be. Everybody knows their place. If you thinking that Klay Thompson, Jason talked about it, 3 other pairings back about nobody's healthy this time of year. So if you talk about all the nagging injuries, nobody's healthy, and these guys hadn't even hit stride yet. Is Steph even starting?
Not yet.
6 man.
Come on, are we kidding? What are we talking about? What are we talking about?
It's working out so far.
We must just, Dennis got something in your ear. We just got extra time to waste. What are we talking about? This is over. Come on, man. Come on.
Look, you mentioned Gary Payton II. He was hitting the 3-ball in Game 3. I mean, he's known for obviously his defensive prowess, but if he's able to knock down that outside shot, that's going to be scary. Draymond Green defensively, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson defensively. They still got
You're not talking about Wiggins or Looney. None of these guys.
That's what I'm saying. Looney, he's been there. We're not talking about none of these guys, man. What are we talking about?
Otto Porter's getting some good minutes this year.
What are we talking about? That's what I'm asking. What are we talking about? There's a bunch of guys. As I said, there's guys we haven't even talked about, and what are we talking about?
I think it all goes back to what Jason said. It's that they've been there, done that before. When you put those 3 guys back on the floor, it just clicks like it used to. They're expecting to win a championship. That's what it seems like. They're playing like that as well. We talked about this series being over. Agreed, it's over. Could be over today. Are the Warriors going to go to the finals? Obviously, I haven't gone to Western Conference Finals. Maybe they're probably my pick to go to the finals. Where are you guys at with Golden State? What have you seen with Jordan Poole and all this success?
If they can stay relatively healthy for the rest of the playoffs, they're going to the finals.
You just had Memphis coming.
Memphis going to the conference finals.
So you got
conference. Okay, I got you.
But okay. I do believe that if it comes down to a series, that's hypothetically speaking, if it comes down to a series between Memphis and Golden State, I think the experience of Golden State will win out.
Oh yeah, Memphis is going to get a nice learning curve in that game.
Now, mind you, Memphis has played them tough the last couple of years. They beat them a few times, but I think in a playoff setting, it would be a totally different atmosphere. And you have, like I said, Coach Kerr, and then you have the guys. You know, it's a big difference. But I do think that may be the Western Conference Finals matchup if they're separately in their brackets to get there.
So they're going to get each other in round number 2. So it's going to be Warriors, Memphis. Coming up in the next round. So that's your 2 teams going at it right there up top, where it looks like if it goes the way we're seeing it, Suns Dallas up in the top of the bracket, 1 versus 4. So now that you hear it, you have it laid out for you guys. Memphis Golden State, hypothetically speaking, obviously if it goes that way, who do you got?
I'll take Golden State in that series, and I'll take Phoenix in the other series.
So Golden State, Phoenix, Western Conference Finals.
Same thing, and unless Booker comes back, even if Booker does come back, it'll be a great series. But I still got Warriors coming out the West.
I'm going Warriors coming out of the West. But yeah, what a series that would be if they get back Devin Booker. That'd be a phenomenal Western Conference Final. You look at the Eastern Conference, we'll have the Heat and the Sixers. Hopefully here in round 2, and then hopefully maybe we'll get the. That's a good question. Would you rather play the Hawks and the Heat? Obviously there in round 2.
You met with the Hawks for revenge from last year.
That's the only reason I want the Hawks.
Exactly. I'm with you there.
With James Harden and what we got, and we're gonna show them that it was the other guy.
Yeah. And that's a good point. Excuse that laugh there. But Miami and Philly, then most likely Milwaukee, and we'll go Boston.
Oh my!
Here.
Milwaukee's going down. I don't care.
So you got Boston over Milwaukee.
Whoever plays Milwaukee next, I don't think Milwaukee's making it to the conference finals this year. It's just not happening.
So you got Boston going to the Eastern Finals. Boston versus Heat or Philly.
I was telling my friends the other day, I have a lot of friends who are diehard Sixers fans. I have Sixers-Celtics conference finals.
Wow, can you imagine that rivalry conference finals game? Joe, what do you got in the East? Well, besides the Sixers, of course.
It ain't no besides. I got the Sixers. What else?
What do you got? Nets?
I mean, not even from a nostalgia. I'm just saying. I just believe they have.
I agree.
think they.
I'm with you.
I think as the series go on, they're learning more. I think James is getting more comfortable with I think everybody's understanding
their role,
with level. And like you talked about, it's not. I had spoke about that. It's not about the plays, about the execution of being in a spot. And like you're saying, his vision to see those
put everybody in the right spot.
are crazy. Now you're going up against Boston. You're going up against guys that they can send at him. Marcus Smart, just as bullyish and don't back down from nobody. So that's going to be a great. But I still say, when it all comes to said is done, it comes down to the big fella, and you just gotta.
Oh, I hope it comes to fruition because we've had y'all number in the playoffs the past few meetings.
Oh, we're not going to get into that right now.
Just like North Carolina has somebody's numbers, you know what I mean? So do you want to?
I'm sorry, didn't y'all lose y'all coach to retirement? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Speaking of which, let's go on that
go into
subject.
that.
Jay Wright, obviously phenomenal career. I mean, had the chance
Oh,
to.
before we go, who you got?
Oh, we're going back into that. Don't worry, I just wanted to quick say.
Okay,
Jay
go
Wright.
ahead, okay.
Quick thing on Jay Wright. Love Jay Wright, one of the best coaches in college basketball
Ever.
history. Hall of Famer, coach of the decade from 2010 to 2020, multiple national titles. Jay, big fan, obviously, but just want to say thank you for all your time in
memories.
Villanova. I've had some great memories as a Villanova fan. I'm sure all of us have, except for Jason, who has the most painful memory of all back in 2016 in Houston, Texas. But Jay Wright, what a career.
Amen.
And we're sad to see you go. Kyle Neptune, great to have you here for Villanova. But Jay, what a career. Anything, you guys, best memories, everything on Jay Wright here as we just started?
I'll defer.
Oh, man. Well, you know, Jay's been my guy. So funny when I got to see him at the award show, Big Five award show a couple Mondays back, and we just sat and talked, and we were just laughing because my schedule has been, I used to get to Villanova a lot and watch a lot of practices. And he said, Joe, when the last time we seen each other? Now, we're standing there. Everybody's waiting to get their handshake. I said, man, I was with the Harlem Globetrotters. We was at Madison Square Garden.
Oh, my God.
They were just retiring Curly Neal's number. He's like, no way it's been that long. I'm like, that's how long it's been since me and him really talked. And, you know, we sat there just laughing and joking. And I'm telling you, the way he worked that room and things of that nature, now and I can see certain things, but it was nothing that was given off that he was going to step down.
Yeah, really.
You know, his team was there. Randy Foye was there. You know, everybody. It was just amazing of everybody in the building. And Jay Wright, just a class act, represented Villanova and just represented Philadelphia on such a whole nother level. And when it was the Big East, oh my Lord.
What a Big East it was, too.
He made the big, I mean, he just carried on from Coach Massimino what Villanova was all about. And it's just a testament to all the great players that are in the league that came out of Villanova, the coaches that are out there. Mm-hmm. My man, shout out to my boy Easy Ed Pinckney that's still out there doing his thing. And I'm like Nick, just thank you, Coach, for everything. And you can see the hurt in his eyes. You know he's going to miss it, man. You can't do something that long and not miss it. But if anyone deserves retirement and anyone deserves to be happy in that retirement, and you know he's going to be a part of the school in some capacity anyway, which is great. But, you know, we just wish you well, Coach. You know, congratulations, salute. You the best. Love you, man.
I will say this: it's been fun watching Villanova over the past 20 years. Seeing them go from the Kerry Kills era into bringing in Coach Wright and then going through all those players, nameless NBA players who are doing great things in the NBA, not just average or subpar, but great things in the NBA. I mean, you can probably find a Nova player on almost every team,
right? Which is crazy now. Yeah.
So it's testament to his coaching style and his pedigree and just his love for the game and what he instilled in his players. And we're also not losing one of the greatest coaches of all time. We're also losing the best dressed coach of all time on the sideline. So we're going to see a lot of sweats and things now.
Yeah, that's true. That's the way it's trending. So, I mean, again.
But I would say he's had a great impact on college basketball, on basketball in general. So he will be missed. He's on that Mount Rushmore. I'll give him that.
Again, I mean, my favorite memory probably, well, I had a chance to be at the Final Four in 2009, 2016. I've still got the fan video from me in the crowd when Chris Jenkins hit the buzzer beater in Houston. You know, hearing him talk to everybody at the hotel afterwards and just one of the best coaches around. He's one of the greatest guys out there in college basketball. There it is on cue. I'm in there.
What is this?
Where am I? Where can you see me?
What is this?
Sorry,
What is
Jason.
this?
Again, Jason, you did get us in 2009, though, with Danny Green, Wayne Ellington,
I don't wanna
company.
see this right
But
now.
this is the one we needed. I had a chance to talk to Danny Green after this game, and he was one of the most upset people I've ever seen. Danny Green, he was devastated after that shot. But what a game that was. One of the many memories Jay Wright will have at Villanova.
That's all right, Booth, my guy from Baltimore, hometown.
There you go, Phil Booth. So what a job. Thank you so much, Coach Wright. Again, good luck with everything, Kyle Neptune. We're ready for it. It should be a great upcoming next couple seasons. Back to the NBA playoffs. I'm going Sixers making the Eastern Conference Finals. Who do you got playing the Sixers? You got Bucks or Boston? Who's going to be?
Oh, Boston.
Boston. I'm going Boston and the Sixers. The defense we're seeing out of the Celtics right now.
The NBA wants that for obvious reasons too. You want that old school matchup. You want that. You want those money games.
Either that or a little Brooklyn Phillies, maybe what they kind of want too, with the Simmons versus the Sixers as well.
That would be great drama. But basketball-wise,
You want Sixers.
yeah.
And you're a Celtics fan, so I already know what you're going to say. But Joe, if you're the Sixers, who would you rather see in the Eastern Conference Finals? Boston, Milwaukee, or Brooklyn?
I think if we had our
choice.
If we had our choice, it would probably be Brooklyn.
Honestly,
I just know, just Embiid wants that smoke. You know, he does. That's the thing out there. He really wants that thing to say low. That's why he's with Toronto, wishing that Kawhi was still there. Like, yo, let's go. I'm going through everybody that y'all said we couldn't get through. And we don't care what their situation is, what our situation is. Let's just play basketball. But real quick, I think because Boston with Williams and Horford, they got somebody that can deal with the Greek. That's why I give Boston the edge, because they can't stop him, but they can slow him down considerably. And he's going to have to play him on the other end.
Right. Yep. I'll say this. You asked the matchup that Coach Joe would prefer. For Boston fans,
Yeah, let's hear it.
we really prefer the Heat. Remember, we're one block shot and a few miscues away from going to the finals in 2020 to play the Lakers. The Bam Adebayo block on Tatum in game one, and then all of this stuff that unraveled throughout this series. So we will want revenge against the Heat, if anything, honestly.
So it should be a great NBA playoffs. We got some good ones today. It all gets started with our Philadelphia 76ers and the Raptors at 2 o'clock, just about an hour and a half away from tip-off. And then at 4:30, you'll have the Mavericks and the Jazz, followed by the Celtics and the Nets tonight at 7:30. And then the late tip at 10 o'clock between the Grizzlies and the Timberwolves. So they're back in action again tonight, a big one. We've got 4 great ones here today. Besides the Sixers, which one are you guys most interested in as we close up?
I'm not going to say my team, because that's obvious.
Okay, so you can you could say the Sixers if you really wanted to.
Honestly, no. I'll play this. I'll be honest with everyone. Die-hard Celtics fan, but I watch the Sixers very closely. Always have local area market teams for me as well.
That's why we have you on the desk.
So I've been watching Sixers for a while, and I think this is one of their best chances to make some real noise. And I like to make up other rosters. We haven't even mentioned Paul Reed, G-Leaguer. We haven't mentioned Paul Millsap. I mean, you still can name players on their bench that's not even playing right. DeAndre Jordan, like they
0 minutes.
You can throw people out there and get some minutes in, eat up some fouls against other teams who may have star players too. So I like what the Sixers can do. I mean, I really do. But my game to watch tonight is the Grizzlies and
Timberwolves.
Yeah, definitely.
I gave them the 10 o'clock start in Minnesota.
I'll be up.
Interesting. Yeah,
I'll
be up with you. But it's weird that you usually don't see those central teams getting pushed back to 10 o'clock start. But in this scenario with who's playing in the regions, that's the way you decide to go. Joe, where are you looking today?
The same thing. I really want to see if Minnesota's going to. We talked about a lot of. There's a lot that we left on the table about Minnesota, and I want to see tonight. Because everything is on Cat, and I want to see what that really looks like, and I'm going to be very interested in that game.
I'm with you, too. I'm going to go with the Nets and the Celtics. Celtics up 2-0. How do the Nets respond at home? Durant and Kyrie, they need a big win. If they go down 3-0, I'm telling you, don't even bother bringing Simmons back in Game 4 if they get a win.
They will be down 3-0.
If they get a win, then I think it gets really interesting, because then you're down 2-1. Do you bring him back there after you take a game at home? Again, I think bringing Simmons back in any capacity, I know we didn't want to talk about it, is going to hinder that performance. But again, they're down 2-0. They don't look great, so maybe they're looking for any type of spark there.
Listen, the only thing that's going to come out of this game today with the Celtics and the Nets is that the Celtics are going to win. KD and Kyrie going to have a nice game, give them something. But that's going to be the best.
Right?
That we could say, oh, see, we ain't worried about KD, but now there's going to be talking about why they can't win. So that's a whole nother dynamic. But I'll just say that I still like the Celtics.
There you have it. Well, guys, we had a great show here on this Saturday morning. 4 great games today here in the NBA playoffs. Again, make sure you tune in early next week. We should be live Monday night for another update and recap. So for Nick Alessandrini, Jason McCall, and Joe Richmond, get out, watch the 76ers here first at 2 o'clock, and then catch those other 3 great NBA games on the rest of your Saturday. Should be a full weekend of NBA playoffs here this weekend. So thanks for tuning in to DETV, another sports exclusive. We'll see you Monday night.